have Mike Scarola come to the stage, please? Michael. Right there, buddy, right there. Yeah. So does size really matter? In some cases it does. If you're planning to play in the NBA, throw the shot put at the Olympics, play offensive guard for the Montreal Alouettes, or be a sumo wrestler. In many other athletic endeavors, physical size can be no obstacle. This man is comparatively small, but for world-class paddler Mike Scarola, the old adage rings true. It's not the size of the man with the heart, it's the size of the heart in the man. Laszlo Chum Ladarovsky, now a national team coach. He came from Hungary many years ago to coach at the Chima Aquatic Club, and that's where he met Mike.
It's a heart. If somebody have a good heart and ready to fight mentally, ready, I don't think so is a problem.
So from the time Mike started paddling, he was always smaller than most of his opponents. He took that as a challenge to outwork and therefore outperform everyone else. Developing a strong work ethic and having a heart for what he did certainly paid off for him. From being a guy yelled at by a teammate for being too small, Mike became a world-class competitor at the highest levels, from World Championships to the Olympic Games, and came away with gold, silver, and bronze medals at World Canoe Championships and World Cups, and finished in the top 6 at the 2004 Olympic Games. Mike recalls, and this is a quote, "When I was young, not too many of the paddlers outworked me, and I did all right. I picked up the technique quickly, but the other kids grew, and I didn't. I fell behind, and I stayed there. By my mid-teens, I still really liked the sport, had role models, continued to work hard, but didn't see results." He went to his first nationals at age 13 in 1989, and that's when a boatmate screamed at him for not having the strength to steer the boat and falling out of the lane, leading to disqualification. Mike says that gave me inspiration to get bigger and stronger. So at 17, Mike won gold for the Nova Scotia Canada Games team. He competed at Junior Worlds at 18, and yet when he moved to senior paddling, still on the small side, he lacked confidence and almost quit. He joined Chima Aquatic Club in Waverley and met Chum, who had a different approach than what Mike had experienced before. Mike says, quote, "He worked his athletes really hard, knocked fitness into them, and I started to love the sport again. I saw quick improvements and by age 21, made the national team and competed at Worlds. Chum was the biggest influence. He entrenched that working harder than everyone else would pay off." Chum, a Hungarian who himself was a world-class paddler, built Chima into a national power, taking Mike and others like Karen Furno on a journey that resulted in Olympic performances. And today, Chum is a coach with Canoe Kayak Canada in performance planning and tactical analysis, and he likes to talk about Mike. And if he,
his strength was his work attitude, and later on his fitness level, which is he suffered when he came and trained with us, but he built up on the extremely high level. We spend, I said, 4 to 6 hours a day together, every day. Paddling is not a summer sport, so 12 months a year. And it's nice to see somebody achieve the potential best or close to the potential best.
Mike says focus, determination, a willingness to outwork his competitors and want it more was what it took. At National Training Camp in 1999, he and Richard Dalton of Halifax were paired in the C2 canoe. Richard says it was awkward at first as they had different styles. They were tried together on a European tour with mixed results initially, but when they made the final at a World Cup event, they were encouraged. By 2000 and through 2004, they medaled regularly, winning 4 golds, 6 silvers, and 2 bronze medals at World Cups, all at either C2 500 or 1,000-meter races. In 2000 in Dartmouth, Mike and Richard won silver in the C2 40-kilometer at the World Marathon Championships. One major disappointment that year was missing qualifying for the Canadian 2000 Olympic team by a mere couple hundredths of a second. Later that year, however, they beat the Canadian Olympic C2 qualifying team 5 times. They were second in C2 1000 at the World University Games in 2002. The same year, they earned 3rd at the World Sprint Championships in the C2 1000.
And there we see that they are, I think, in 3rd position. They've been very patient all race, and now if they can turn it up, they might find themselves on the podium.
It looks as though their stroke rate is still good. Dalton and Scarola in lane number 3. 3rd from the top of your screen. The Polish team looks as though it will finish first. Kaburski and Slowinski, but Dalton and Scarola, did they make it? Indeed, they did. Third place for Team Canada and a time of 3 minutes, 33.97 seconds. Bronze to Canada.
This is an outstanding result for the program. And Mike and Richard have to be thrilled with this result.
We're really happy. We did what we wanted to do. We did our race plan. At the end of it, we were dead. And when we crossed the line, we weren't sure if we were third or fourth. And it's pretty exciting to be on the podium.
And Mike, I'm sure you'll agree the play-by-play call on that was outstanding. Mike's paddling career was capped when he and Richard qualified for Athens in the 2004 Olympics. They finished second in their semifinal and sixth in the final.
For Scarola and Dalton, the formula for success is that they are opposites.
I'm a really slow eater.
I'm a really fast eater.
I like it quiet.
I like it loud. My first impression of Mike was that he's actually smaller than me, but he's much older than me, and he's also much faster. So I was always kind of curious as to how that was.
My first impression was, man, this is a funny-looking little kid. He was the same size as me, even though he's like 4 years younger than me. But he was still, you could tell he was still a little odd.
I like the music channel.
I like the business channel. I like dogs.
I prefer cats.
When we started paddling together, just technically in the boat and also exactly our motivation and our attitudes were somewhat different.
I think the reason why Rich and I click so well is, you know, we both have a common goal, and we're both pretty level-headed, and we're both willing to make changes and make sacrifices that, you know, maybe some other people wouldn't.
Even though we might approach things differently, and it often leads to debates and discussions over the best way to do things, our shared commitment to our goals is what really has made the crew strong and allowed us to continue working together for a long time.
Rich said that. Finally, we agree on something.
Here's a quote from Mike. Richard and I had a tight relationship. We lived in the same room for 5 to 6 months a year while training. We're always on the water together for 10 to 14 practices a week. We really complemented each other. Richard says Mike was a good decision maker. Here's a quote. He looks at things sensibly and is very disciplined. He's great with details, rarely does anything escape his attention. He showed me that in any situation, if you put your mind to it and think of the best option and had confidence in it, it will lead to the best outcome. A quick look now at the C2 1,000-meter final at Athens in 2004.
It's all going to come down to who's on today over the next 1,000 meters.
Canadians have improved during the week. Fourth in the heat, second in the semi. Richard Dalton of Halifax, Michael Scarola of Dartmouth in lane one. They need a better start than we've seen from them. And their coach has said they'd like to see a 250 split time in the high 51s to get in a position to win a medal. Haven't seen a Canadian move yet.
Canada looked like they were 8th or 9th coming through the 500-meter mark. That puts them off the pace here. They're going to have to really pick it up just to place better. And a realistic finish for them would be in that 4th, 5th range, so they've got some paddling to do here.
Germany in charge, driving to the line. They're the Olympic champions. The race for second, and it's very, very close. Hungary and Russia. And the Canadians going through, I believe, in 6th spot for Richard Dalton and Mike Scarola. Dalton and Scarola, 6th day in the final of the men's 1000.
In January of 2005, that was 6 months after Athens, Mike retired. He says the transition is the biggest challenge for a national athlete. You have to have something else to focus on, and I did. Mike now lives in Toronto with wife Barb, who he credits with tremendous support through his elite paddling days, and their 3 children. He completed his business degree at St. Mary's University and an MBA at Dalhousie. He was part of RBC's Esteem Team, an Olympic athlete speaking to youngsters and corporate groups to inspire them to set goals and be successful. He was president of the Atlantic chapter of Olympians Canada and a member of Canoe Kayak Canada's High Performance Committee. Now working in investment banking, Mike says the most valuable takeaway from paddling has been learning that what seems impossible at the start can become reality. Learning through sport can transfer to how you approach life. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask you to please welcome our first inductee tonight to the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame, Mr. Mike Scarola. You might want to stand. To present Mike's plaque tonight, Mike Corkum, the Director of Advertising for Eastlink TV, and the pin, his longtime paddling partner, will present that tonight, Richard Dalton. Yeah. How you doing? Yeah, pick him up, Mike. Pick him up. Come on forward. Okay. Thank you, Richard. Good to see you. Take me back to Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, and tell me when you first knew that paddling would play just a massive role in your life.
Wow. Well, I liked it from the beginning, despite the fact that my first year at Sonobe, I wasn't a very strong swimmer, so they didn't let me in the boat until I could actually swim to a buoy and get back. Despite that, I loved it right from the very beginning. Did I know that it was going to be, a 20-year plus love affair? I think that just kind of evolved.
What is it, Mike, if you're a little guy, little kids are pretty fickle and they go from one thing to another. Something about this must have grabbed you and held on to you for decades. What do you think it was?
Well, we've got a great system in Nova Scotia, for starters. We've got fantastic role models. I wasn't very old when I could look up and see Steve Giles winning on the world stage. So that was a big motivation. But I think there's something inside me that hated not being the best at something or not being able to do something. Like right from when I was, probably 3 years old, and I wanted to, jump 9 flights of steps, but I could only jump 6. I just kept trying, right? So I think that mentality just kind of carried through paddling.
What about chemistry? It's a very tough thing to define, but when you find it, and it comes in different forms, you guys obviously as different as night and day, but you and Dalton nailed it from almost right out of the gate. Why do you think that works so well?
I think it's like kind of what I alluded to in the video there. I think we had a common goal. I think we were both. When you're in a boat like that, every movement that individuals make affects the other person. So you've got to be willing to make some changes so that you're in sync for what's best for the team. And I think for some reason, although I had some fantastic partners in the past as well, who we did very well with, that commitment just kind of put us over the top.
One last one for you. We've inducted a lot of paddlers here in the 13 years I've been lucky enough to do this, and it seems like every one of them has gone on to just a good life, a disciplined life, a good family life. What is it about the sport that gets instilled in you that translates to nice success later on?
Well, sport in general just creates a fantastic work ethic. It teaches you that you can set a goal, commit to it. It might feel like a long way off and unachievable, but if you just plan and set smaller goals along the way, it's definitely achievable. So I think taking that approach into business, which is what I've done, I think that's kind of the key to success.
You also, by the way, the Olympics in 2006, or 2004, was 7 years ago. you look 7 years younger as opposed to 7 years older, which is an amazing thing. Any explanation?
I'm not sure. These last couple years I've been working pretty hard, so they haven't been youthful on me, but I'm doing my best to stay fit.
It's the spike tear, I think. Folks, listen, this is our first of the night on a wonderful night. Mike Scarola of Dartmouth, Nova Scotia.